Thank you, Kathy. And thank you for joining us for More Than Gifts, appreciating your volunteers. Over the next several minutes, I want to talk with you about the VIPs of your children's ministry team, your volunteers. Children's ministries could not function without the aid of these wonderful people who give so tirelessly every week. Children's ministry is much different than other ministries in the church because of the range of ages that we minister to. For instance, a baby is not going to be able to function in a classroom the same as a 10-year-old would, and vice versa. Because of this, it takes many volunteers to successfully minister to the boys and girls in our churches. Now, whether you have one volunteer or hundreds of volunteers, you want to create a culture in which your volunteers can thrive and that you can let them know that they play a significant role. I want us to look at 3 key areas that I believe will help us relay this message that they are truly VIPs. The first key in creating this culture is value. People feel valued when they have been heard. So listening is essential. Listen to what your volunteers are saying to you about where they are serving and with their words and with their actions. Are they excited about teaching their class? Are they asking for the next assignment? I have a teacher who contacts me weeks in advance asking for her next lesson. This lets me know that she is in the right place. Or you may have a volunteer that's always late and filled with excuses when it's their time to serve. They could be trying to tell you that they are in the wrong position. For example, I had a nursery volunteer who it was frustrating when it was her time to serve because she was always late. And after talking with her, I realized that she did not enjoy working with babies at all. However, she did enjoy working with older children. So I moved this volunteer from the nursery to elementary ministry, and immediately she began to change. She no longer was late, but she served with excitement. You could see it on her face and in her voice as she served and ministered to the children. That was several years ago, and this volunteer is still serving today. You're going to want to listen to your volunteers' input on how classes can be managed most effectively, such as the age levels in their classrooms. Is it too wide an age group? Are there too many children that they're having to handle? Maybe the curriculum isn't working. You may think the curriculum is great. However, your teachers don't like it at all. And if that's the case, it's not going to be used effectively in the classroom. You want to ask them how processes such as check-in and check-out could be more efficient. How can you get the children in and out of your classrooms most efficiently? Listen and be aware of what is going on in the personal lives of your volunteers. Remember that they are more than just someone who is filling a spot. So you want to know kind of what is going on in their lives. Things such as their birthday. Everyone likes to be celebrated, and birthdays are a great time to do that. How are their secular jobs going? Because these things affect their ability to serve. You want to know the names of their family members, how many children they have, what their spouses' names are. You want to be able to call them by name, because all of these things factor in to your volunteer serving. For example, if a family member is sick and in need of constant care, or if there's a big project at work and your volunteer's having to spend long hours there, knowing what is going on will help you manage these volunteers without frustration. And it will also help you answer the question, what's going on with Jim or Susie? They seem a little distant lately. This kind of communication is also proactive, and you can approach a volunteer and you can say to them, let me get someone to help you until your project is completed or until your family member is well. That relieves the pressure from the volunteer, and it shows them that you really care about them as a person. You all also want to keep a good line of communication open regarding the spiritual needs of your team members. Let them know that you are praying for them and that you care about them and not just what they can do. This simple act of listening to the input of your volunteers says to him or her that what they say is important to you and that you value them as a person and not just where they are serving. It lets them know that they are more than just a warm body in a classroom. These VIPs want to be instructed. They want you to give them clear, concise expectations. You want to give that to every volunteer through job descriptions and or training. Don't assume that they know what their expectations are and what your expectations are of them, even if they've been serving for many years. Maybe you are a new children's pastor at a church and you inherit this team of people who have been serving for years. That previous leader's expectations may have been quite different than what your expectations are. You may want all of your teachers and volunteers to arrive 30 minutes prior to the start of a service or whatever event that they are serving in. Well, the last leader never specified that, or maybe they only wanted them to arrive 10 minutes prior to the start time. So each volunteer should know what your expectations are so that it is not frustrating for them and it's not frustrating for you, and they can serve effectively for you. You're going to want each of your volunteers to know the policies and procedures of the church and of your children's ministries department. You'll need a policy and procedure manual available for every volunteer. You can go over, I recommend that you go over this policy manual with every volunteer, especially your newest volunteers. Go over it with them, let them know, let them ask you questions, and you point out anything that is specific to their area of ministry. You're going to want them to know what your discipline plan is, because consistency is the key to good discipline in our classrooms. So you want every teacher following the same discipline plan, and that should be spelled out clearly in your policy manual and in your discipline plan. Your volunteers are going to want to know what their weekly time commitment is. Will they serve 1 hour a week or only one time every month? Also, how many hours on average will be required of them to prepare for the classroom that you're asking them to serve in? Along with that, they're going to want to know their length of commitment. Is it going to be for 1 month? Are they going to serve for 3 years or for a 12-month commitment? It is much easier to get volunteers to commit to a defined span of time than it is to give them an open-ended commitment time. Maybe a volunteer knows that they can only be available during the school year. And if they think that you are only willing for them to serve for a 12-month commitment, you may miss out on a wonderful volunteer when they would be happy to serve for a shorter period of time. So you're going to want to communicate those commitment times to your volunteers. Communication is a key. Communicate on a regular basis to make sure of how things are going with your volunteers. It can also offer additional training. It can be done through several methods. One is through group meetings. Another is text messages. If you have just a short message that you need to get to your volunteer, a short point, or if you need to let them know about something coming up, just send them a text message. Or if it's more detailed, you may want to send them an email. They can do a podcast. This is something where you can train them while they're driving to their secular jobs and maybe to a ball game when they're taking their children to practices or whatever. They can listen at their convenience. Or what we're doing here tonight, a webinar. They may, you can give them a link to a webinar and they can sit and watch that webinar at their convenience. You can also share articles with them that you find related to their area of ministry. You can never have too much communication. You may be teased for over communicating, but everyone will know what is going on, and then there's no misunderstanding about what the expectations are, and you also have put more information in their hands than what is needed. Let's look at new volunteers. When you're training a new volunteer, let them watch you as you teach the class, and then you're going to want to observe them and offer suggestions and praise when the class is over. I did this a few months ago with my preschool teachers. They were having a difficult time with the length of the service, and they didn't quite understand how to make the curriculum work for the time span that they had. So I'm normally in elementary. I took a Sunday and I went in the preschool class, and I gathered all of my preschool teachers around me, and I went through each of the components of the curriculum. I had one of the teachers to sit and actually record how long it took us to do each component of the curriculum. I had a schedule made, but then we did my times, the projected times, and then she did the actual times that it took for us to do it. And now I hear comments such as, we didn't have time to finish everything. It just took just a little bit of time for me to step in and to show them to think outside the box and not to be caught, not to be stifled by just what was in the curriculum. Sit with a new volunteer and cast your vision with them. Keep that vision and mission of your ministry in front of them at all times. Let them hear your heart. Repeat it over and over again. Don't let them lose sight of what you are there for. Another thing that you're going to want to do in your instruction is commit to team meetings at regular intervals. In these team meetings, you can go over any issues that may have occurred from the last team meeting. For instance, if you want to have a meeting with all of your preschool teachers once a month, you meet with them in January, March, May, and then in February and in April, you're going to meet with your elementary volunteers. So between those times, when you have those meetings, you're going to sit with them and you're going to talk about everything that went on between the 2 months that had passed. And then you're going to look at the calendar and look at what is coming up for the coming 2 months, so that everyone is on the same page, and it is relationship building, because they then can give their input. It's not just you saying, okay, this is what we're going to do and this is how I want you to do it. You are building a relationship with them between you and your team members. And so you're going to want to have these meetings at a time when most of your team can be there. And it's also good to have it in a relaxed atmosphere. You may want to even serve a meal during these meetings. It may be easier for your team to meet on Sunday morning, since most of them are going to be at church on Sunday, and you can eat for you can meet together for a quick breakfast meal, and then you can look and discuss all the things that you need to go over for the coming months. The last key that I want us to look at is praised. Everyone likes to receive feedback. They want to receive your feedback, and they want to be acknowledged for a job well done. And children's ministry volunteers are no exception. They like to receive a pat on the back and a thank you. Many children's ministry volunteers work completely behind the scenes with very little recognition and only a few services off, going to adult services. Words of praise, both in public and in private, can mean a great deal. And I want to encourage you especially to give words of praise in private, because those words of praise in private make the ones that you give in public mean so much more, because those volunteers know this leader really cares about me, and not just when he or she is standing in front of a church, but they really care about me, and I hear this all the time. I would much rather be accused of thanking someone too much than be accused of a person who never gave words of praise. So you're gonna want to give those words of praise in private and in public. Take every opportunity to let the church know what is going on in children's ministry and who is serving in the different areas of ministry. because the reality is a lot of people who come into your churches don't really know what goes on in children's ministry if they don't have a child or a grandchild in that ministry. So you're going to want to let them know. Take every opportunity. Now I want to show you just a few of my favorite things that I like to do to give tokens of appreciation, because sometimes you want to go a little bit beyond just words and you want to share some things with them. And these are things that are not really expensive. It's things that you can easily do on a small budget, or you may even be able to get these things donated by someone at your church. This one I really like. It says, it's just a bag of lifesavers, and it says, "You're a lifesaver." Now, I don't know about you, but I know that some Sunday mornings everything runs really smoothly, and other Sundays it's like, oh my goodness, everybody is sick, everybody is out for one reason or another. And you have to pull someone in and say, hey, can you serve in nursery today? Or can you fill in the elementary classroom? And they step in at the last minute. And they for sure are a lifesaver to you. So you could have some of these on hand, maybe in that big tote bag that you bring to church with all of your props and everything in it, or in your office, or just at your house. You may keep these, but have some of these so that at the end of service you can say, you were such a lifesaver for me today. I just want to give you this as a token of appreciation. Another thing that I like to do is use extra gum. And my tag just simply says, "You're extra special. Thanks for all you do." And then this one could be used if the volunteer served at a special event. "Thank you for going the extra mile to make Fall Festival extraordinary." And that's something that when they chew this gum, they can think about you and your appreciation. Another one is Mounds Candy, because a lot of our volunteers like chocolate. "Mounds of thanks for all you do." And then I have a couple of things that are not food items. Stick with it. You're the best. This is, everybody uses sticky notes or Post-it notes in their offices or at work or at home. So you can give them that. Here's another one this cost about 94 cents from Walmart. It says, "No one holds a candle to you." And it's just a simple way for you to say thank you for all that you do. Just a couple more. Now this one is totally free. It will just cost you some time. It won't cost you any money. It's a gift certificate for babysitting. Now, a lot of children's ministry volunteers have young children, and maybe they want to go out on a date with their husband or their wife, and they don't have money for a babysitter. Well, you can offer that to them. That will tell them, hey, they really do appreciate me giving my time at church, and they want to give me some free time as well. So just a certificate for babysitting. Or some of our younger teen volunteers, I love teen volunteers, they love to eat. And so you could say, here, have some s'mores on me, and you have all the ingredients for s'mores, just marshmallows and your crackers and your chocolate. Or you can make them a movie basket, and you give them the popcorn and the candy and the soda for their movies. It's just a small token of appreciation for them to say, I appreciate what you do, and I want you to know that you're valued. And when you do this, when your volunteers feel like VIPs, they feel valued, they feel instructed, and they feel praised, they will exceed your expectations and will serve the children of your congregation joyfully.